All right, let's talk about a piece of tech that can completely change how you work on the web. Seriously. Especially if you're dealing with tons of accounts or just massive repetitive tasks. We're talking about an API that basically gives you superpowers to automate your browser.
I mean, really think about it. Have you ever been in that situation? Maybe you're running a bunch of social media pages or managing different e-commerce stores, or you're a QA tester. You know that feeling of just drowning in logins, passwords, and a sea of browser tabs.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a total grind, isn't it? Click, copy, paste, log out, log in, over and over. It's not just boring, it's a huge waste of time, and honestly, it's where mistakes happen. It's just not an efficient way to work.
Okay, now here's where we flip the script. What if you could take that entire manual mess and just automate it? Imagine telling your browsers what to do with a few simple commands and watching them execute those tasks perfectly at a speed you could never, ever match by hand. So, first things first, let's really put some numbers to that pain. We're calling this the 100-account headache because, well, once you get to that scale, doing things the old way just completely falls apart.
I mean, just look at this comparison. It's night and day. Creating 100 profiles manually could take you all afternoon. With an API, we're talking seconds. Need to update a proxy on every single one? Instead of clicking into each profile, it's just one command. And my favorite, integrating with other software like your CRM, it goes from literally impossible to, yep, just plug it in. This is what scalability actually looks like.
So, that leads us right to the solution, the API. The best way to think about it is like a universal remote control for all your browser profiles. It lets you call the shots without ever having to touch your mouse.
Okay, so what is a browser profile API, really? The key phrase is right there, through code instead of a graphical user interface. Everything you would normally do by clicking around, making a new profile, changing its settings, all of it, you can now do with a script. This is the absolute foundation for any serious multi-account operation.
All right, so let's get into the nuts and bolts. How does this thing actually work? We're going to peek behind the curtain and see how you can swap all that tedious clicking for a little bit of code.
And look, I know when you hear the word code, it can sound a little intimidating. But trust me on this, the ideas here are super simple. We're not talking about writing some massive complex program. It's all about a few basic intuitive commands that do all the heavy lifting for you.
It really just comes down to these 4 basic ideas. You need to create a profile. You need to read its information. You might need to update it, like change a proxy. And when you're done, you delete it. That's it. Each one of these actions maps to a super simple API call. It's just a logical way of telling the system what you want to do.
But here's the thing. Creating and managing profiles, that's just one piece of the puzzle. The real power comes when you connect your other automation tools to these profiles. And believe it or not, that connection happens with just one more command.
This right here, this is the magic link. You send this start command, and it not only launches the browser, but also gives your script a special port to connect to. Think of it like a dedicated phone line that lets tools like Puppeteer or Selenium take direct control of that specific browser. This is the bridge that turns a collection of profiles into a working, automated army.
Okay, theory is great. But let's see this thing in action. Where are people actually using this stuff? Let's look at a few real-world examples that show just how powerful this can be. Take e-commerce. Imagine you running hundreds of different storefronts. With an API, you can give each store its own clean, isolated browser profile. This means you can automate checking orders and updating stock across all of them without worrying about the platforms linking those accounts together and banning you. Or what about social media? This is an absolute game changer. Each of your accounts gets its own unique, consistent browser fingerprint. So when your script posts content, it looks totally natural, like a real person is logging in from their usual device. This makes your automation so much safer and more reliable.
And for my data people out there, web scraping? Oh yeah, this is your new best friend. You can write scripts that automatically rotate through different proxies and fingerprints to avoid getting blocked. If a scraping job fails, no problem. The system can just spin up a fresh profile and try again. You can have it running 24/7, completely hands-off.
Finally, let's talk about QA testing. For any developers listening, this is a huge one. You can build this right into your development pipeline. So for every single test, you automatically create a brand new, perfectly clean browser environment. The test runs, and then the profile is instantly destroyed. You get perfect, repeatable results every single time.
Okay, last section. So let's say you're sold on the idea. What do you need to think about before you dive in? Let's cover a few key things to make sure you get set up the right way.
So you've got a choice to make, basically. Are you going to run this locally on your own machine or use a cloud API? The local option is super fast, zero network lag, but you're capped by your computer's power. A cloud API, on the other hand, can scale to the moon and you can access it from anywhere, but you're now relying on an internet connection. There's no wrong answer. It just depends on what you need.
Now, with all this automation power, we gotta talk about security. It's super important. Here's a simple rule of thumb. Rotate your API keys. At a minimum, do it every 90 days. It's a small step that drastically reduces your risk if a key ever gets exposed.
And on top of that, here's a quick security checklist. This is non-negotiable stuff, really. Lock down your API so it only accepts requests from your IP address. Never, ever paste your secret keys directly into your code. Use a proper secrets manager for that. These practices will keep your setup safe and sound.
You know, there's a quote that just nails this whole concept. It's about a total transformation. You're going from something that's manual and full of potential mistakes to a system that's built for scale and automation from the ground up.
And that's really the big idea here, isn't it? It's a fundamental shift in your role. You stop being the person who just clicks buttons, you become the person who commands the entire operation.
So, I'll leave you with this one thought to chew on. Now that you know this is possible, what's that one boring, repetitive, soul-crushing task in your workflow that you would automate first?